And Adrian here, and today I'm going to show you a few things about how I vibe code, or whatever we're calling it these days, to put together a new site. And it's also one of the reasons why, you're seeing massive differences in allocated human resources put toward various tasks within companies that have actually figured out how to allow their developers to use these tools. It's going to be pretty obvious as we go through this. So if you haven't seen AI tooling, etc., being used to do this, shock, but also here's your introduction. It's kind of scary. So now I always start off at this point in the game with two cursor instances running. One I have set up for getdown.biz, that's the app that we're going to build, and then getdown.biz.testing. So one basically is set up to test the other thing, and the testing I always set up to do kind of an end-to-end thing so that it's not really aware of what code is on the back end, on the application that's being developed, so that it doesn't know how to cheat or hallucinate about that. It has to look at the thing that it's trying to test and actually determine, if it can or can't test the thing that I'm trying to ask it to test. Anyway, with that, let's get into this. So as you can see, I've just started an instance of cursor. I'm going to pop the side out here, and you can see where you can do multiple agents. Just a quick tour here. This is the folder. There's nothing in my folder right now, so I could just click and say like, here, let's have a README, right? But I'm not even going to do that. I don't want to do anything. I'm just going to show you how I do this from scratch with nothing, right? So I'm going to get rid of the agent. I'm going to hit Alt-I or power key, whatever it is on a Mac, power key I to get that going. And now I have a chat. There's the 4 options here. You can ask a question. You can go into debug, which we can't do now because we don't really have anything to debug. We can set up a plan, and then there's the agent. So I'm going to start with a plan though, because as always, you don't want to sit down and just code. You want to kind of plan out what you're going to do first, as any good developer would do, right? I mean, you want to plan out and have an idea of what you're going to build, unless you do just want to see code work, but that's not what we're here for. All right, so with the plan, let's get in here. So the getdown.biz app, what I'm going to make that is basically an application that has a calendar where you can put meetups and get-togethers and training sessions and whatever else that might come up, and have like kind of a social existence site where you can sign up to a meetup or organize a meeting or whatever it is, or user group, whatever it is. So basically that's what this is going to be. So let's start to describe that. I want you to build out a site using the most up-to-date React and related collateral to build out this site. The site will be based on so already you can see we're getting some idea put together here. I've already stated the base technology that I want it to build. So it's going to start with React and some, the collateral, etc. So it'll use React and the tooling that's commonly used around React. So I'm thinking theoretically it'll probably build out a Node.js app to run the React site on, which would be perfect. I'm going to add one other little comment here. Initially, let's build this site to run on Vercel. Now, I'm going to set it up so it runs on Vercel, because I'll deploy it out to Vercel, and then we can take a look at the actual site, and we can build along, and that'll be our initial hosting provider to run this site. Eventually, if this thing starts to take off, because I'll turn it into a business if there's business to be had with it. And we can scale it out and move it out to EC2 or whatever, and we'll develop the whole thing here live on these video sessions. All right, so I added a little bit about users and what they can subscribe to, etc., how they see things, share calendars, etc. I particularly didn't get super detailed in this example, just to kind of show you the power of what it's going to do, because it's going to introspect and kind of fill in some of the gaps here. And then at the end here, I specifically state, build out the plan and then ask me any questions so that we can clarify what is going to get built. So with that, I am again on the plan mode. I'm using Composer 1.5. Auto and max mode is not set. I'm just going to go with this. Nothing else here special or anything. We're just going to roll. So boom. Let's see what it comes up with. So it's going to start doing its thinking and its pixie dust magic. Within its little black box there, and start to churn together a plan. And we'll take a look at that in just a second. So there we go, starting to churn it together. It's already put together a mermaid diagram of where things are. So we got Postgres, Prisma ORM, route handler, server actions, Next.js 15 app router, React 19 server components. That's okay, that seems interesting, seems doable. Full calendar React, whatever that is. I don't actually know what that is. And then Auth.js, OAuth Google, GitHub, credentials provider, etc. And let's see our tech stack. I guess maybe there's a reason this is on 15. I haven't been keeping close tabs on the state of React. React 19 Tailwind CSS, Shad CN UI, that seems legit. Auth.js v5 for Next.auth, then Prisma, Vercel Postgres, full calendar React, recurring events, multiple views, deployment of Vercel. Okay, we got all that. Then the core entities are going to be user, calendar member, event subscriber, blah, 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 blah. And there's a few other things that I want it to do up front here. So let's see, key features by phase, foundation, events, sharing, polish, project structure. So it hasn't even built it yet, and it's already got the structure of what it will look like. Suggested event types, that's pretty good. Let's do this. Let's make some edits to the plan. Add more event types. Actually, is it the event types I want to add? Oh, beyond my type, these are suggest types. Okay, actually, I'm happy with that. That's pretty good. Alpha Sours, mentoring, yeah. Environment variables, that looks good. Initially, add to this plan the idea that we will do local development, right? Set up a Docker container to launch a local unique instance of Postgres, and then launch that so we can launch our site and start further development. Connect repo to Vercel, add Prisma, Vercel build, post install. Yep, that all looks good. Add that to the plan and add any details that may be needed, and ask me further questions to clarify. All right, so elaborating on the plan. Now what it should do is it'll go through this plan right here that we've been looking at, and it'll update it with a few more bits based on that criteria that I just gave it. So let's hear, what do we got? Container config, Alpine, it's going to use 543 for the port. Do this and this, yep. So it should set up the initial setup for that. Which package manager do you want to use? Should we use npm, yarn, or pnpm? Let's go with pnpm. Why not? Just to be weird. Do you already run Postgres or another service on port 543? If we do, yes, let's use a different one. Use yeah, I think I might actually be using that one too. Let's do use port 5466. And then let's see here. Do you want seed data for local development? Test user sample calendar. Yes, include a seed script. And then please continue. All right, so it's going to put together a few more things here, which is pretty nice. Do you want to overwrite your file with your changes or revert your changes? That's always a little confusing. So is it the changes it's making, or does it talking about the old thing and revert to whatever? Just I'm going to ignore that. It seems to put this in just fine. All right, so new worker flow. We're going to have Docker compose up D, PNP migrate, seed, etc. The plan is ready for implementation. Say when you want to start executing it. So now you can click build, because it's over here written up, right? Which is great. But I like to keep things in chat and just say, please execute this plan. Boom. Oh, but I didn't change it to the agent. So let's do this. Please execute the plan, change it to agent, and now do this. Because it's just going to make, if you leave it on plan, it'll just start writing up more plan about what it's going to execute. In this case, though, it creates a to-do list, and it's going to start going through that to-do list now. Let's see, I'm going to allow npm to just be run. It's going to start going through things and start building out the actual project. And you'll see it populate over here. Now, while that's working, I'm going to go over here and actually start to say, so I'm going to go ahead and, do I want to do a plan or an agent? Let's just unleash it on that request. So that's going to start working. And then back over here in the development repo, okay, npm install. Go ahead and run that. So it's getting there. It's starting to build out the node modules directory by running npm install. As you can see there, it's getting bcrib, zod, a bunch of other dependencies that we need to actually have that website built out. Already, you can see there's various next.configs, docker compose, as we asked for. There's a getignore file, an environment variable file, a readme. It put a readme back in there, so as before, I didn't have to do it myself, and we're making some progress. While it runs back over in the test setup, let's see here, we got allow npm install. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and let it allow that. Now, that's probably going to go across IDEs, right? Because I'm running two, but it's generally a shared settings for the particular thing, so it should just run npm install from now on. Allow curl. So yeah, you know what? Go ahead and do that too. That seems relatively safe. All right. So it's built all that out. I want to look at what we got here. We got test, root spec. We got test results. So that's going to be that. And then the Playwright webpage. All right. So basically it built out a project using Playwright to do end-to-end tests for us against our website that we're building here. So now bouncing back over to the website build out, where are we at? I was asking for ui.shadscene.com. Let's just fetch that. And as expected, I asked it to do a lot in that plan. So there is quite a bit of work to do. Now, take into account, if you've got a team of people working on this, you already have a lot of communication that has to occur just to get this started. If you let one person work on it and start to build it out, you might streamline that process for these initial steps, because it's a lot of rote memory going through these things if you know how to build these things in the first place. Otherwise, you got to read a lot of docs, you got to stop and interact with it and make sure that you're actually setting up the base application correctly and that it's going to build and it's going to actually run. However, in this case, as you can see, we're just minutes into this and it's already building out this full basic website. It's starting to write code, a lot of TypeScript, and it's putting all this stuff down now, and it's doing it in context of our build plan that we initially ran here, and it's doing it in the context of basically the current state of React, the current state of these dependencies, the current state of the libraries, the current state of Docker, the current state of, you get the idea. So there's a lot being taken into account, whereas I have experience with all of these things from years and years and years of doing that. And it's basically rolled 99% of that into it getting done this way in minutes, right? We're just, it's still sitting here churning through, putting this together. This would have taken me, someone who has done this a zillion times, probably hours, probably the whole day. And instead, we're getting it done here in minutes, in literal minutes. So we've compressed what would take to get a greenfield application started from a solid day of kind of crunching through stuff and debugging dependencies and whatever down to minutes. In addition, I'm going to have the test site, the Playwright site, up and running that will then be able to test this site. So we'll have both of those running and tested here in just another minute or two. As this runs through, I think we're going to get all of this done in less than 30 minutes. Probably right at about 20 minutes. I think we're about 15 minutes into this or so. But anyway, again, we're talking about minutes versus hours versus a day, a work day, right? Pretty significant decrease in time. As we get into this, though, you're going to see where we run into situations where we have to maybe get into the code, or we have to troubleshoot things ourselves, or we have to kind of really work back and forth with the prompt. And a lot of other little scenarios where we kind of have to slow down from that initial speed. Now, this is the case even with just people hand coding all of this stuff. However, the slowdown from this extreme speed benefit that we get from this is also going to be as extreme in its slowdown. So we're still going to have a multiplier, probably a 2, 5, 10x multiplier over a developer or developers working on something like this. But it's still gonna, it's still not like you don't just stay on infinity speed, to put it simply. You still have to go through iterations. You still have to do all the steps to think through and ruminate and ponder what it is you're trying to build and get those decisions made. And even before AI, that was still a pretty significant part of the process. It wasn't always building the part or building the thing. Some of that could actually be done pretty quickly. It was still, the bottleneck has always been thinking things through, and not always particularly like, are we going to churn out the code or whatever. That could sometimes be done pretty quickly, even in the past. With that, looks like we've got our first Gen AI generated application here ready to go. It's set up a demo user. I'm gonna go ahead and click keep all, so it's gonna keep all these initial changes. How to run locally: start Docker, copy the environment variable over to env local. So let's look at that real quick. Well, it looks like it already did this. And we got this one, so it's got the database, and then auth secret is just this general thing. We'll fiddle with that in a minute. And the env local, it won't keep, because that's where you keep your secrets, but this example is the base example of how to build this file. So like when we put it in the repo, yeah, you probably know the drill. But anyway, you want to keep your secrets out of the repo. Still, AI doesn't fix that kind of stuff. You need to still stay on top of your secrets and your security, your OPSEC, etc. It's still up to you, not your AI. Even if they take that stuff into account, do not stop thinking about it. So anyway, we've got all this at play here. Let's follow some of these steps and actually run it. So I'm going to pull up a terminal, and we're going to take a look at the status real quick. I'm going to go ahead and do the initial add. Git commit first commit. There we go. So that's all in that repo. This isn't anywhere in particular yet, as you can see. I haven't attached it to anything. We're just running still 100% local. And then let's do npm run docker.up. So that probably does docker up. Yeah, compose up -d. Cannot connect to the Docker daemon. Because I need to start it locally, which I'm going to do right now. There goes standard Docker desktop situation, starting up right now. You can see I have another database running, and then we're going to do that again. So there it goes. Grab the container, which already got Postgres running, so it should have the Postgres containers, and then it's going to put and build the specific container for Get Down, our project, right? So we kind of did the copy already because it did the copy, the auth secret in here. let's do this. We'll do OpenSSL run. Let's see if it gave me the, there we go. So we'll go ahead and keep our secret. We'll put it in our local. And of course, I'm going to change this as soon as this stream is over. So it's not like you'll be able to use the same key. Anyway, there's my last secret. So that should work for our authentication that we need to do. Now I'm going to see if it did a good migration. Migrate dev. Oh, something broke. So let's see here. Environment variable not found. Database, Prism. This, why did it not? Oh, I see what the problem is. Yeah, just the Prism doesn't have this bit for whatever reason. Environment variable not found, database URL, Prism, So actually, I'm going to be super lazy, and we're going to keep using the AI and say, debug. I ran the migration and got this error. Now, db:/migrate:/dev is trying to run the migration for Prism. So it most likely in the npm file or whatever has that set up to run Prisma and do its Prisma migration for the database schema. It's simplified everything by putting it into some type of npm run whatever command. So with that, I'm going to ask it though and see what it says about fixing this. I confirm that Prisma looks for env and not the Investing why by adding instrumentation testing hypothesis. Okay, understanding the problem. I found that Prisma only loads this. Searching in the env local. Okay, it added that to there, and then there's a package.json, so I did that. I think it's like passing. Hypothesis, instrumentation in place. So Prisma loads env only, not env local. Env is missing, so database URL is never set. Yep, okay, that's kind of what I thought. It exists, but is missing because no env file, let's try to run it again, because it attempted to fix it. So, oh no, it didn't fix it right. So let's go back real quick and say, so I tried to run it and you can just proceed. So that's how debugging works. Super easy, kind of a nice feature. The only reason I'm doing this way with this problem is because of just to show the debug feature. So interesting. So doing Prisma generate. So that's the actual migration is Prisma generate and Prisma migrate is what you need to do. So it's trying to do that. Let's try it again. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. All right, so I'm going to mark it as fixed. Go back over to agent after that. And then what was the next steps? Let's scroll way back up here. So we did migrate, and then we want to run the seed. So npm run db seed, which this should also be fixed. It was probably broken before because the seed is going to use the same, Prisma database connection string and all that kind of stuff. And then we can do run dev. Now it says that the demo user is this one. So let's just copy that demo 123. So let's actually open up a browser and look at this good versus this mess. So localhost 3000. All right, so here's the browser. Let me make that actually fit. There we go. So create account, sign in. So let's sign in with that existing account. So this is demo 123. Sign in. All right, whatever. Okay, demo calendar. Let's look at some of this. Oh, there's a whole calendar. Weekly get down, streaming sessions. So yeah, it has some sessions in here. We can edit this, etc. So we have a running functional website with all types of stuff. Let's add an event, huh? So your new event, get down together. All right, and we'll call it what type? Call it a get down. Get together and discuss how this is developed and the ramifications of this site. All right, and we'll put it somewhere in Seattle, Washington, because that's where I live. And then the start time. Let's see if this date time picker works okay. So we'll do it for the first, March 1st at, let's go with 6 p.m. That looks good. And then this one is, we'll end it at same day, we'll end at 8 p.m. That sounds good, right? There we go, 8 p.m. It is not an all-day event. Recurrence. Oh, weird. It wants us to put it in there. We'll have to build out that feature because I don't really like that, but I get what it says. Frequency is just a string to dictate what type of event it is. Anyway, we're going to add that event and check it out. There's our, oh wait, that's not it. Where did it go? Boom. Go back to calendar. There's our event that we just created. So get together to discuss this development and the ramifications of this site. Pretty cool. Go back here. Dashboard. What's a dashboard? Oh, this is the dashboard. Okay, and then calendars. Look at the calendar again. Events listing. Recurring. Yeah. And yeah, it looks pretty good. And then what's the share do? Oh, okay. Email. A few other things. There's the demo user listed. It's going to share to, I guess. But yeah, it looks pretty good as a first commit of the site. I'll go from here and we can continue to develop from this point forward because there's a lot of stuff that we should add, like maybe dark light themes. I always like to give the ability for people to look at a light theme if they want to, or the dark one like I like. Just go by like the system reference, set up some general user settings to know more about how the user wants to use this app. Blah, blah, blah. The list goes on, right? Extensive list. Kind of talked about that a minute ago, how a lot of what is now the root activity that you need to take as a developer is to figure out the use case, the product design, et cetera, and then work from there to use your technical knowledge to dictate to it how it should ruminate and determine how to build the thing versus actually coding it yourself. So this is the future right here. This was what? We're probably under 25 minutes, under 30 minutes. If I didn't talk as much, it'd probably be 15 minutes if you just did it yourself. But anyway, this is a getting started and an example of how I do some basic generative AI development via vibe coding, whatever you want to call it. I don't even like that terminology at this point because it just sounds ridiculous. But there is a lot of context in which I do that, which changes the paradigm to some degree versus someone just jamming stuff into the prompt. We'll talk more about that later. For now, hope you enjoyed this quick little episode, and I will catch you next episode. In the meantime, keep having fun, keep thrashing your processors, and keep coding. Cheers.